as you know, it takes a certain type of person to become an entrepreneur to take that risk of going out. What sets you apart to where you're able to do what you're doing now?
There's a couple things, but I think number one is something cliche. It's just work ethic. I mean, I'm willing to work harder, longer, and be more persistent than most people.
So we got a special guest here today. We got my guy, Alex. How you doing today, Alex?
Amazing, Sam. Thanks. We're in AZ.
Yeah, no, happy to be here. It's a little hotter than I'm used to.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, man, I just want to kind of introduce you to everybody who hasn't heard about you. I know you're. It's been great to see what you're doing and everything. You've done 8 figures worth of real estate in the last 5 years. I know you started out just from 20 grand, and waiting doesn't seems like a lot, but from where you've from where you're at right now, looking back, kind of walk us through, like, what did that process look like for you?
Yeah, so getting involved in real estate for me started really kind of on the agent side, and even before that, I was in the mortgage business. So, I just right out of high school, found a job working at the bank, and thought that was pretty cool, and uh, essentially, I liked the gig. It had some great benefits to it, and I enjoyed being in banking. But then, afterwards, I just felt like I couldn't really make enough money there. So I've always been ambitious. So I remember seeing people in the mortgage business back in the day, and so I got involved on the real estate finance side because I got influenced by a lot of people around me that were getting into it. And since I was great in sales, I think I just applied that. And so kind of went and did that mortgage business. And there's a couple of cool movies out there like The Big Short. Some of those that kind of describe the run up of the mortgage business during the middle and the kind of later 2000s. And so that was a fun time, but it also came to a screeching halt, and when the whole market crashed. And so I learned a lot during that time, man, because I was in that business, and then there was a lot of distressed properties everywhere. I mean, everybody was in foreclosure, or somebody had, a lot of people had taken out these exotic loans. And so for a long period past that whole debacle, I was on the real estate agent side. So, I kind of tell the story of we're all exposed into real estate in a different way, where I guess we find it from a different source, or we all have our stories. But that's how I kind of came across it. Is I became an agent during that time. Noticed that the house flippers were making a bunch of money. I was like, man, like, I'm doing a lot of work on these transactions, and then I'm seeing that the real breadwinner in this one is the real estate investor.
Yeah.
So I should be doing what they're doing. So, I got lured back in the mortgage business, and a bunch of other stuff happened. But, I was always kind of thinking about it in the back of my mind of, hey, maybe one day I could be a really great house flipper, make a bunch of money, keep some rental property. I like properties. And so that's kind of led me in. And now fast forward to the future, I'm a full-time investor. About 6, almost 7 years ago, I started working for other investors in LA, and then just got my start there. Real entry level jobs with these real estate investors, getting deals, and then after a couple of years, was able to make enough money, save enough to start doing it myself. And so about the last 4 years now, I've had my own small real estate investment firm. We're fixing and flipping dozen to 2 dozen properties every single year in LA. And then during this time, I've also been able to acquire some properties in Hawaii and Arizona, and just kind of design a business. I like to say that I design a business that supports and it works around my lifestyle, rather than me just being kind of like a slave to the office and just the same place all the time and all of that. Because I did that in the mortgage business, and this time around I wanted to build a business that was really healthy for my lifestyle, because it is stressful to be an entrepreneur and to do a lot of business and real estate deals and all this. So I want to make sure that I have a lifestyle that I'm looking forward to, being all the challenges that we deal with as investors.
Yeah. So, as you know, it takes a certain type of person to become an entrepreneur to take that risk of going out. Reality is just not everybody has that in them to go out and do it on their own. So what do you think it was for you that, whether it was the way you were raised or whatever, maybe what set you apart to where you're able to do what you're doing now?
There's a couple things, but I think number one is something cliche. It's just work ethic. I mean, I'm willing to work harder, longer, and be more persistent than most people. And so I think that I've never been afraid of working long hours, working for many years on something particularly that I believe in, and I think that could have real difference in my life. And so I think I've gravitated towards working in fields that I felt like, hey, I'm going to learn something, and eventually I'm going to be able to either make more money by that learning or in that specific position. So I think just having immigrant parents and growing up with nothing. I mean, it shows you that there's people that have money and people that don't, and LA is known for that, right? It's like the land of haves and have-nots. LA is one of those places where you see luxury and rich and famous, but then also you see a lot of poverty and a lot of rough neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So when growing up in LA, I think I saw a lot, both sides, and I definitely wanted to be on the other side, right? I wanted to be, living in a big house. I wanted to have nice things, but I didn't want to do that illegally,
Right.
being drugs or some of the things that you're lured to when you're young and want to make money. And so I did get blessed with like a gift of gab a little bit and being able to present myself and things like that. And I think that's also been helpful. I've leaned into my strengths my whole life.
I like that gift of gab. I've never heard that one. Did you come up with that or?
Oh, not at all. It's the saying when people just say, hey, you know what, a person can talk. Whether he has a mouthpiece.
So
Yeah.
I've heard mouthpiece. I've
Yeah,
never heard
yeah,
gift of gab.
yeah,
I'm gonna have to use that. I'm gonna have to use
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Sweet. So now, like, I know you had, in your first, 2 years, you were able to scale to, over $500,000 in profit. Walk me through that first deal. Like, I know you had saved up for a while and you were, been working with other investors, so you had the know-how. What was your first deal? Was it a flip or?
Yeah, so there was two first deals. I know it sounds weird, but the first deal was when I was working for the investor that decided to go work for as a telemarketer, inside sales agent, and that was a fix and flip deal that I sourced for him through just cold calling. But after a couple of years of working for that investor and another one, that's where I saved enough money and also learned enough to go off and start flipping homes on my own. And that first deal that I got, I think I got that one first deal on my own, like meaning that I was making the lion's share because when you're working for other investors, you're learning from them, but you're usually making a small percentage of the profit because it's their overhead, it's their lead, it's all that, right? And so that first deal that I got on my own, it proved that I could do it on my own with my own money and my own things. And so that one was also a flip. So for the first couple of years, all I did was just stack cash and flip properties and learn and master the business and deal flow. And then after that's when I started to keep some more property after I had enough resources and I had made enough money and I could, because a lot of times with these rental properties is you do have to keep some money in the deal. So so sometimes that's that balance. You have to weigh the options of, hey, do I keep on scaling up and growing and all that, or should I start keeping some of these properties for tax purposes, for cash flow purposes, and all that. But really, yeah, for me, it was always like I want to make as much money as possible, millions of dollars, and I know once I make a lot of money, I naturally can also keep real estate as well because they kind of go hand in hand, right?
Yeah. How did you end up acquiring your first deal? Because obviously you're working with another company. Were you able to use some of those resources, or were you able to kind of learn methods for going out there to generate leads?
Well, the great question. It was actually the latter, where I was still technically employed as an acquisitions agent for this real estate company, and so I was still technically working for them. But since I had learned the skills of how to negotiate, how to sell, how to analyze, how to estimate rehab, all these things, I was able to start doing my own marketing with my own money.
Okay.
And so I wasn't really taking money out of their pockets, right? It was my money, but I was investing in marketing because they, didn't want to do that. They just wanted to buy properties from wholesalers and from MLS. So I said, well, I'm learning this off-market stuff. I think I could be good at this. So I started to do that. And so my first deal actually was based on, actually the very first deal I think I did on my own, I'm thinking back now, was where I was posting some stuff on social media and a new wholesaler that didn't have as much experience reached out to me, and then we met, and then I helped guide him because he was cold calling, and I helped identify the leads that he was working on. And so I was like, all right, cool. Let me help you out with your leads, and then if anything comes of it, like we'll split the profits or we'll partner up or we'll figure it out. But I just don't want you to waste your time on a bunch of stuff that isn't a deal because he was kind of still junior in his, kind of learning and everything. And I had already mastered deal analysis. So I was like, hey, bro, I got you. I'm not going to take your leads. Just send me some, and then send me the leads, and then I could review them, and then we could focus on the best ones. And sure enough, we found a foreclosure lead, and then we ended up, getting that deal together. And then I made, I think, about 50 grand on that one. And that was the first time I had made a larger amount on a deal. Yeah.
Now, when you said you guys did the deal together, did you guys did he wholesale it and you flip it, or did you guys just JV on the whole thing?
No, no, it was where he just got paid a finder's fee because he didn't get the contract. He just gave me the lead. And
Gotcha.
so I walked him
Okay.
through the whole process of locking it up with the homeowner, and then he ended up getting like $10,000 for just kind of handing me off the lead. And then I JV'd on that deal with someone else and put up the capital actually, and then we split the profit. So it ended up being like $100,000 deal. He got 10,000, and me and the other guy split 90.
Yeah. One thing I know for a lot of people who are getting into real estate, the biggest thing they, say is, okay, well, I don't have the capital. That, or I don't know, have the know-how. As far as capital goes, how important is it, utilizing your network and, getting in front of other people to, make it to where you can scale a lot faster than just by yourself?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, I think it's a fantasy that you don't need any money whatsoever, but you don't need large amounts of money initially. What you need is really the skills, which is analyzing deals, being able to talk to property owners, wholesalers, all that. That's sales skills and persuasion, and so you need certain skills to then attract opportunities, and then the more. I mean, the more junior you are, I guess, or what I say, if you're still early on your journey in real estate investing, then you don't really have all these skills, right? You're just kind of looking at YouTube or watching some stuff. But how do you get those skills? Well, you go work for somebody, or you pay a coach, or you spend a lot of time practicing all the things that you could learn for free on the internet. So I think there's just it all revolves taking action, and so. If you just think, oh, I need a bunch of money, then you won't take any action. But if you figure out, how do I get involved in this business without having to have a bunch of money, there is a ton of ways. And one way is to work for an investor. The other way is to partner with an investor. Another way is you could work as an intern, or kind of for free and all that for an investor. And there's all these communities you could kind of be a part of and just be the squeaky wheel. Go to the networking events, see what people are doing, and just help as much as possible, get around the game, and then you'll learn it. But it's not going to happen overnight, naturally. It's just one of those things is just don't make the excuse that you need money, because if you have the knowledge and the skills, the money becomes less of a factor. But if you don't have any of it, then yeah, of course you need. And if you have a lot of money, it doesn't automatically guarantee your success as an investor. All it does is enables you to have more options, but you could also waste more money, right? You have a lot of money, so you throw too much money in marketing, or you buy a bad deal because you're just trying to buy, your first one. And so it's not necessarily a huge advantage if you don't have the knowledge or the skills of real estate investing and really speak the language.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of, moving pieces that go into it. If you were to go back, I know you said obviously it does need some money to get into it, but not as much as people think. If you were to go back right now, obviously I know you started with 20 grand. It's a little bit different than early 2000s and everything. But what approach would you take, and what would you need to confidently say, I can get started doing a flip right now?
Yeah, so if I were to go back, I think the first thing I would do is just going to go all in on like just personal development in general. Just, hey, read the books, listen to the podcasts, or the DVDs or CDs back then. Kind of dating myself a little bit, but essentially just really be committed to personal growth and getting better every single day. I think I would just kind of go back to that, because there's been many times where I've fallen off my positive habits or productive habits, and so I think every time that I'm off my game or I'm not accomplishing my goals, it's really because my daily habits are not contributing to those goals that I want. So I think that, even aside from just real estate investing in general, I think I would just tell my younger self, hey, put the blunt down, dog. Put the Corona down, dog. Just go in on this personal development, grow, and you will make a lot more money, because we're a direct correlation of how valuable we are. And so it's not what you want to make; it's like how valuable are you to the world and the market.
Yeah.
And so I think in that, how do you do that? Well, by growing, and it's not necessarily reading the books or listening to the books, or it's just the actions you take because of that influence and that information that you get. So really, it's just you become something once you're influenced and you have this as a priority. So I would say that, and then that would just push me into being able to like know what I need to do within real estate, which is just do what I did before in a similar fashion, just master deal flow, master flipping, master one thing. Because now there's, I guess, too much information out there, and it's too easy to kind of know the theory of real estate investing, but it's the day to day that really makes you successful. I am making offers on properties every single day, right? I am analyzing properties every single day. So that hasn't changed, in 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Right, and so it just the what type of properties we're buying maybe has changed a little bit. The areas maybe changed a little bit. The prices of the rehab and stuff like that have changed, right? But what I learned by working for these other investors, how to analyze how to analyze deals and all that, it's kind of the same. So yeah, I would say just go learn it, go all in on personal development, and then I think also I found that I get a lot of value from being conscious about the time I spend in reflection. I think that's one thing that's sometimes not talked about enough. If you're taking a lot of action, you're kind of go 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 go, and people like us that are just driven, high achiever type of mindset, like sometimes we don't know when to turn off or how to take some time off to reflect on what has happened in the last quarter, in the last year. And that way you're like, okay, cool. Do I really want to still do this? Or I need to do more of this? Or this isn't working for sure. Or I have to repair this relationship. Or, hey, I need to fix this in my routines. So these are all things that I've figured out through spending time in solitude and nature and reflecting on my results and really where I'm at and what I want. Because you get choices once you get more successful. You have more money, you have more influence, you have more resources. And so you got to make decisions on the allocation of your time, energy, resources more often. And that's why I'm saying reflection, I think, is very key. When you're taking a lot of action, you have something to reflect about.
Yeah. No, I think, reflection's really good, especially when you're trying to achieve a goal. I know we talked about this yesterday when we were kind of walking around is, in order to have a set goal, you need to have what that goal is, and then as well as every step you kind of need to attack to get there, right? So, in that situation, right, have you worked out a process yet to where you have a system in the way that you evaluate yourself? Because like you said, you take time every couple months to do something like that to kind of check back and say, okay, where am I at? Where am I trying to go? So how do I utilize where I'm at to get there? Walk me through like kind of the process of how you do that.
Yeah, so since my team and I already meet on a regular basis, for the business side of things, and then I use the weekends such as Sundays. But my process is rather simple. It's more of is my daily habits on point, and that involves my morning routine, my workday routine, and my evening routine. So there's a couple of things. I say this to some of my team members that I'm sort of a slave to my calendar, because if it's not on my calendar, the appointment doesn't exist. That's the way I really look at it. And I also work on my calendar and use it kind of retroactively, meaning that I'll have fixed meetings, but then later on I'll actually put how long did I spend in that meeting, and then also what other things I did do, as much as possible. I'm not perfect, but that enables me to go back and just a glance, I could see in the last week like where the majority of my time went, and then I could see what that's going to be happening next week and how that kind of, they're correlated and they work together. So okay, I see this week I have a lot of red on my calendar, means I was kind of maybe putting out a lot of fires. The following week there's a lot more green in there, which is I color coordinate my calendar, and then and I'll show it to you one day. I don't think I have yet, and then it just allows me to just keep track of my time.
Yeah.
And make sure it's going to the highest and best use. So I think that's a huge one, and I would have started that habit a long time ago if I knew. But it's the system I developed over time, So that's one big one. And then every year, I write down my 10 big goals, and then every quarter we're tracking, how are we doing with those 10 big goals. I found that it's hard to have more than like 10 big goals in a year. I think that's enough. And so I think, I'm on track on a lot of them because I review them on a month-to-month basis. Yeah.
So you're doing, around 20 flips a year with real estate. Plus you have your other apartment units or your other, Airbnb rentals that you're working on. What's your plan for scaling? What's your goal? Where do you see this going?
Yeah, so my company and our brand, because the thing is, we're building our real estate investment company, which is geared towards just doing about this volume between 25. I'd say I'd want to scale it to about 50, deals, not necessarily all flips, because flips, they're really hard to scale up, and so it's more of like how do we? Our goal is to get to a certain revenue, which is multiple seven figures, because we've already hit, six figures once. So we're really trying to get back to that where we're, getting to that $2 million a year or more in, revenue. It involves scaling up. It comes down to people. So I've had a team of 15. Right now our team's closer to like 7, 8 people. We did, kind of scale back after interest rates went up a lot, and there was kind of a big pullback and correction in 2020.
Yeah.
Predominantly. We're now in 24, but so yeah. So I say my core goal really is just have that company doing that amount of revenue, and then with that I'm able to keep a certain amount of properties every year, right? So I'm usually keeping 10-15% of the properties that we purchase. So then we keep those, and those are generally going to be cash flowing or they maybe they're not making that much cash flow, but they have a lot of equity appreciation potential. Because we do a lot of stuff in LA. So LA, it's not necessarily known for cash flow. And although there are certain areas of LA that I am buying outside of the city, and that cash flow, and so we'll still definitely hit those. And then we are also working on creating our kind of deal makers headquarters, because we've been kind of remote for a while. So my deal makers community is the investor community I built out. We have regular events. We post stuff on social media.
Yeah.
It's been great to be able to kind of build our own community that we want to see exist. A lot of my followers and people that kind of attend our events and everything are kind of the same as me, where they're Latino and 20s to 40s and from SoCal or in SoCal. So we get a lot of those people, which is a pretty big avatar.
Yeah.
And so we're doing these regular meetups. And so we're looking to build our own office space with podcast studio and a place for us to have additional storage for materials for flips, and then also a meeting area. We have our own meetups at our own headquarters. So that's an initiative I want to work on this year. That's kind of something exciting about to just have a home base again, because we've been kind of remote for a long time. But now that I'm back in LA more on a full-time basis, I've realized that it may be great to be able to create something like that to house the community that we've already kind of built.
Yeah. And that's definitely something I want to talk about, because I think it's great what you're doing in the community, bringing people together. Before I get to that though, I know you kind of focus mainly on flips, but you've expanded quite a bit into Airbnb and rentals, and then you also tend to wholesale a lot of flips that you don't feel like doing. I get can be hassle. So how do you decide what you're going to flip, sell, and keep?
Yeah. So there's a couple factors, but the main one is just what's best for the company. It's not necessarily what I want. It's last year we sold off rental properties so we could just get more liquid, get more properties finished, because we tied up more capital in the multifamily that we purchased in Arizona, and so since that happened, it constricted us on being more aggressive and buying more flips in LA.
Yeah.
The experience that I'm getting with this, 18-unit apartment building is super valuable, but it's definitely been, just a big challenge having to manage this big project along with the other flips in LA, along with, big market changes and all the above. So I'd say that, one of our just main priorities is just is to stay focused on really what makes us the most money, which is LA County, single family houses, generally entry-level prices. So we stick to that business model. This is what we buy. Everything outside of that we'll wholesale or not do, or partner up on, or do innovation. And then through the stuff that we do acquire, naturally the best ones will rise to the top. And we do have kind of a buy box in which this is what we like to hold, this is what we like to flip as well. So in certain parts of LA where, okay, this could be a good Airbnb, let's hold on to this one. And, or this one, hey, we got this at such a crazy deep discount and it has some room for appreciation. Let's keep this one too. So it's just a matter, there's no formula. It's not like, oh, every 4 properties I keep, one. It's not really like that. It's more, which properties do I really want to hold, have the most upside potential, and the rest, just flip it, and then we'll move that money somewhere else.
Yeah. So when you're looking at holding on to properties, are you looking more for, just to build equity down the road to have that cash stored up, or are you looking more for an immediate cash flow so that you can have, more passive?
Both. Yeah, I would say I'm looking for cash flow and that I'm not having to park too much capital in there. That would be one criteria that for me holding. Or it could be, hey, this one has a lot of appreciation potential, but perhaps maybe it's just breaking even or maybe negative a little bit in cash flow, but this thing is going to go up a lot because it's a premium neighborhood in LA. We know it's not going to really go down over here. Cool. So it's just it's either or. I'm not trying to get everything. It's, nearly impossible to get cash flow, appreciation, all that good stuff in a property in LA. Usually it's like you're getting one or the other. But there are certain exceptions to that. As I mentioned, some of these areas a little bit on the edge of the city that we found that have properties a little bit newer. And so we do like that. And then they're good rentals and they're also Section 8 and they pay premium. And as long as you get them at certain prices, you can, I'm buying cash flowing rentals for under $300,000 in LA County. They just happen to be a little bit more outside of the city.
Yeah. So on the same note for the flipping and the wholesaling, is there a certain number you're looking to get on each of the flips that you do, or is it just, okay, how much time am I going to put into this versus the return on investment?
Yeah, we have a couple formulas. So typically we're trying to see like a 25% kind of return on investment. Yeah, so it's 25%, give or take. We'll go down a little bit on that, but
For flips?
For flips, yeah, because it's active, right? Our target's really, we want to be at north of 25%, but they get margins get compressed, all that stuff. So we're typically doing that, and or we're trying to make 75,000 to 100,000 net profit on that deal above certain prices. So
Right.
500, 600,000. So it's kind of two. It's one or the other. Ideally both, but it's usually one or the other. And then in certain smaller price points, so the ones I told you earlier that are a little bit outside of the city, well then those we're trying to make 45, 50,000 profit, kind of more around that, and because we're tying up less cash for those smaller purchases.
Right.
So we're it's like unrealistic to want to make $100,000 on a house I'm buying for $265. It's like I've done it, but it's kind of the exception. But house that I'm buying for $550,000, like I'm trying to make $100,000 on, or something like that, because I'm tying up more capital, and so it really is relative to how much capital that I'm tying up, purchase price, and then kind of ROI. And all those formulas are one. So we don't use the 70% rule specifically. Although so many times it's kind of around those numbers anyway. But we look at each deal individually.
So if you're doing, around, 20 flips a year, how many deals are you wholesaling in addition to that?
No, our target is usually a couple dozen deals, and that includes wholesale and flipping. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but right now we're more heavy on flipping, but in a perfect world, it's like we're getting closer to like 50-50.
Gotcha. Yeah. So as far as Airbnbs, I know whole reason I came out to Phoenix is, to see the 18-unit property, which is great, by the way. It's, cool. I love all the patios and everything, great views. But, with that, how many properties do you currently own? As far as
it's actually only 10 properties, but they're made up of 31 doors.
31 doors?
Yeah, so it's 2 properties in Hawaii, but those are 5 doors because one of them is broken up to 3 units, the other one's broken up into 2. And then I have like 7 houses in LA, 1 duplex in LA, and the 18 unit.
Okay.
So so it's 10, but it's 31 doors, and a couple of the properties are multi-million-dollar properties, like the 18 unit. It's a $4 million property, and the Maui estate is a $3 million property. Just on those 2 properties alone, that's $7 million.
I know for the 18-unit property, I know for the most part you're doing mid to short-term rentals. Is that kind of the same?
No, actually, we're doing mostly long-term rentals. But then the other half is kind of like a midterm rentals with a couple of short term rentals. So yeah.
Okay. Focusing more on the long term though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just it's better for long term financing.
Mm-hmm.
We prefer the cash flow from the other kind of rentals, but when it comes to down to like securing long term financing on multifamily buildings right now, it's just a train wreck right now with commercial markets. So we're working on getting this property refinanced and stabilized, and being able to either sell it or begin to even better financing. That's really been the big challenge on this project, the financing.
Mm-hmm. And now, why have you chosen to go the Airbnb route versus just normal rentals?
Just for additional cash flow because we have a high interest rate bridge loan, and we're just trying to not be as negative in cash flow every single month, and was just kind of a function of pivoting to the market was giving us, and there's not as many regulations here in Phoenix, and
Mm-hmm.
so we're like let's try out some other strategies because the amount we were going to get from long term rentals, if we did it for all of them, it seemed like we were going to be a bit shy on where we wanted to be at for our cash flow for the property or monthly
Mm-hmm.
income. But I mean, it's kind of changing it based on us being able to secure this long term financing.
Yeah.
That's still kind of the looming challenge that we have with stabilizing the building. It's just, hey, what kind of financing can we get? Because long term lenders, they don't like to see any type of short term rentals inside of the properties that they're lending on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And for those of you guys who don't know what mid to long term rentals are, it's the same thing as Airbnb. Tenants just tend to stay quite a bit longer, so you have more consistent occupancy, but you still have that same upside as far as getting more cash flow than a regular rental. So kind of moving out of that, how do you? I know you talked about how important it is to kind of have structure in your day to day life and everything. What do you do differently other than consistently looking back and um, correcting yourself, kind of looking at where to see what do you do differently than most people to live the life that you want to live.
Well, I don't know how everybody else lives necessarily. I do have a good idea, but um, one of the main things that I've done in the last couple of years is just live in a different place of the world than where I'm actually doing my full time investing.
Mm-hmm.
Although that has transitioned now, I think there's seasons in your life, and during the times during COVID I was able to move to Hawaii, so I was living in Hawaii and flipping houses in LA, and then I eventually added Mexico and Guadalajara down there because of having family and loving the culture and the lifestyle there, and just the cost of living for the quality of life has just been unbelievable. So I added that, and so I am a big fan of location freedom. As I just mentioned, though, that right now there's a lot more. I spend a lot more time now in Long Beach, LA, than I did in the past, where I was kind of bouncing in just for business for a short amount of time, and then going back to either Hawaii or Mexico. So, but I would say, I mean, that just, I guess for me, and I'm a lifestyle person. But I think another thing is that I'm also very passionate about just building teams, using virtual assistants, leveraging that kind of thing. I've regularly have interns and people like that kind of come in and help out in my business. And so I learned that business model because once you know enough, there's people that want to, that are willing to help you and not necessarily be a payroll employee, but can add help to the team bandwidth and all that. So just try to balance of like having full-time payroll employees and then also having interns, apprentices, mentees, and then also having virtual assistants. All those kind of combined have been my business model to just kind of balance out not having such a high overhead.
Yeah, and
Especially because also when you acquire property, you tend to have a high overhead because you have hard money payments and mortgage payments and all of that stuff. And then if you start adding, some high payrolls, I mean, you could go bankrupt real quick.
yeah, you had talked about you know how you've invested a lot into coaching and into self growth. And in that, you've learned, a lot of great things in a lot of different areas. You've, looked into AI, you've looked into, people, how they work, and then also into the, actual strategy of business. But, what's the most valuable thing that you feel like you've gotten out of the coaching that you've taken part of?
Different things. I mean, at first, when you sign up for coaching, it might be for a certain reason you're looking to learn X. And then you learn X, and then you implement that, and then there's something else you learn in that coaching mentorship, and then you implement that. So I think for me, the value of coaching is that you have accountability. So you've spent money, you've invested money into something, so you're more likely to take action because now you have money to lose if you don't execute on what you've paid for, right? So I think accountability, and then there's like the network side of things, because usually when you pay for some type of coaching or mentorship, there's some community built in, and it allows you to kind of plug into this group of people that are like-minded right off the bat and be part of that kind of group. And so I've been blessed to be part of some great coaching programs, and so I've been able to kind of learn from other entrepreneurs, investors doing what I'm doing. But that's super valuable because like right away you get to like learn what other people are doing and what's working for them, what's not working for them, and to kind of implement that in your business right away as well. So I think it just there's different values that you can get, but it certainly is whatever you put into your coaching programs as far as like as a student, and you go all in, you drink the Kool-Aid, shoot, then you're gonna like gonna benefit from that. Otherwise, it's like being skeptical or maybe half stepping it. It just you're not gonna be successful on that because in anything you gotta kind of go all in on that. And so I think the first thing that I learned on that was like, hey, I took this coaching program. I didn't get that great of ROI, but that was really my bad. I didn't execute well. I didn't have the right team members to help me execute that business plan that I was being kind of given and helped out with through the coaching program. And then when I went back and did another one, I was like, I'm not gonna let that happen again. I'm gonna go all in. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of having a little bit of skin in the game, it kind of forces you to, straighten up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I know me and you, we met at WealthCon at Ryan Pineda's event. And that's kind of what I'd gone there for. That's kind of where my head was there's going to be a lot of great speakers. It's cool to hear these people. But this is what I was going for. I was going there to make connections, meet people. It just worked out. Happened to be coming to this area shortly after the event. So it was definitely good to connect. But you've started to do that. And you touched on it a little bit earlier, but you started to do that in your own community in Southern California. What's the reasoning that you wanted to start hosting your own events instead of just attending more of the ones that were already existing?
Yeah, that started pretty early on when I started my own thing. I started, well, I was doing meetups at my flip, so I heard somebody talk about, hey, you should just host some of these meetups, where some of the projects that you have. And I remember doing my first one where I just posted on my social media and texted a bunch of real estate agents and people that I knew that were involved in the business and just, hey, I'm having a meetup at one of my flips. You want to come through and check it out? We didn't even have food. We didn't have music. We didn't have nothing. It was just like raw. And people came in and you got to ask questions about the scope of work. They got to ask questions how I got the deal. And it was just that face-to-face stuff, kind of contact that I felt like, okay, this was valuable. And sure enough, on one of those first deals that we got, I ended up getting one of these people that came through who became a private lender of ours, and he lent us money on the next flip that we did, and we did well on that one, and so did D with us. And so I saw the power of that, and also the next one, I think I ended up buying another property from one of the wholesalers that came, and so I was like, oh man, I got a private lender, and then now I got a deal from it that we made about $40,000 on, or that we did, and I just started putting two and two together. I'm like, hey, we're already doing the business. This isn't too crazy outside of what we're already doing, and I don't think it's taking too much. It's not taking energy or time away from we could do a lot of these. We're already at the properties.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started kind of doing that. But even before that, during COVID, I was doing a bunch of these virtual meetups because they were like webinar / deal review / we're interviewing some people. I have like over 100 of those webinars. We did like one every single week for like 2 years straight before even things opened up, because partly was there was nobody doing any meetups in person during
Yeah.
that time. And I felt like, hey, I'm working on 4 or 5 flips. I want to connect with other people. I want to see what other people are doing. I want to also help other people out because a lot of people are going through some stuff here with this whole COVID thing. And it kept on building momentum and getting bigger and bigger until what we hosted one of the largest real estate investor meetups I've ever seen. A free, they're in a big LA downtown warehouse, and we had like about 400 people. It was massive. So
Was that the one you guys did like a week ago?
no, the one we just did a week ago was at this Long Beach penthouse, but
Okay.
we've now done, I don't know exact number, but about 25 to 30 events at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's come a long way from just like a bland, a bunch of realtors standing in a room, type of event. I didn't have the pleasure of being at the last one, but I saw videos of it. It looks like y'all were popping in there for sure.
Yeah, it was penthouse vibes. We had the drinks flowing. We had the taco, people cooking stuff up for us.
Yeah.
We just had a great crowd out, but we also have sponsors to help support the event. But the location did a lot of heavy lifting, man. It was a penthouse, like unbelievable view,
Yeah.
and we had it right before sunset, so we got to see golden hour.
Perfect.
It was unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah. Man, honestly, I don't know if there's a sunset that beats LA. I went there for the first time about 2 years ago. Went there with my buddies, and man, there's nothing like it. Like I still see the, clips of like the sunset. It was like the summer of 2022 or whatever year that was, and it always beats the rest of the photos for sure.
Yeah, I would argue Hawaii is better than LA, but yeah,
I haven't been to Hawaii,
Yeah,
so
I've been to Hawaii,
I can't
so
speak on it.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. I can't blame you on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, LA or Hawaii is my favorite.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe I was in Hawaii at one point. I just wasn't outside my mom yet, so I don't really count that. Yeah, man. So I know when you were coming to town, your biggest objective was, checking on the current project at hand, kind of seeing where it's at. I know you had to talk to some people regarding making sure everything is running smoothly. Do you go around to all of your projects and see how they're doing, see how they're progressing, or do you just do some of them that are a little bit more pressing?
Yeah, this one with the 18 unit project, I go to on a month to month or every couple of months to check in on, and then the other projects, the single family ones, I do tend to look at those every couple of weeks as well while I'm in LA. So yeah, I walk projects a couple times a month at least, sometimes once a week, but it just depends because we are slowly kind of concentrating more on LA County again because we noticed that's just kind of our bread and butter.
Yeah.
So we've just made that a focus. So we're pushing hard to just get deals closer that are logistically closer to me in the South Bay, Long Beach area, or the Antelope Valley, where we've done great in Palmdale, Lancaster, I mentioned. And so we're targeting really heavy those areas. And then all the other projects, like the ones in Hawaii, I'm going to go see that one in a couple weeks because one of the properties we're selling, the other one we're finishing up, and I'm going to be flipping that one too, or we might keep that one. We'll see. But I got to go there. But I'm just not in Hawaii as much because it's one of those places that it's hard to do business remotely, and so I think I'm gonna be staying there some more in the future. But right now it's really SoCal and spending time in Phoenix as needed for the 18 unit, and then I'm in Mexico a lot because of the cost of living, and
Right.
I got my place down there, and also just love being in Mexico.
Yeah, so I know you've talked a lot about delegation and making your business automated. I know you've mentioned like using AI in that sense. What are your plans, moving forward? Because you guys are already, doing about 20 deals a year. You want to scale to 50. What do your plans look like for kind of being able to delegate so that you can get to that point? How are you able to step back so that your team can really help drive?
Yeah, it all comes down to people. So, and I'm always recruiting. I'm always coaching up my top team members. I tend to hire virtual assistants that have the capacity to grow and not just order takers. So I really focus on people that want to think, and that want to grow, that have that same growth mindset. It's one of our values in our company. So we're just focusing on people that just exude our values, and just always on the hunt for A players, people that I want to sign. So I'm always looking for talented team members, and currently right now it's just more of we're just stabilizing everything.
Yeah.
And then once we stabilize everything, then I think the right people will step up and then we'll see what we need for the next phase. Right now, it's just really all about finishing projects. The main reason I came to Phoenix is just to deal with some permitting issues with the city that we haven't been able to overcome, and then also walk some of the new units that we just finished that are about to be rented that we need to finish the project, and then also just to check in with my brokers and other contacts here and see, hey, well, what is this building going to be worth and all that. So there's certain things I just can't delegate, and I realize that. So I spend a exorbitant amount of time on the things that I'm the best at, which is like the networking, the acquisitions, raising the capital, the big relationships, all stuff like that. Also just kind of leading, and setting the vision. But I'm not really in all the specifics, specific, and I'm not in project management as much as somebody else that's kind of running that department. And then same thing with operations, same thing with certain things I'm just not involved in because it's a very poor use of my time.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to build people around me and coach them up, and so but I think people have to really want to work with you, and so your vision has to be large enough to encompass their goals and dreams too. So
Yeah.
I'm always thinking big, and that's why like I could live off of $100,000 or less in Mexico like a king. I have been already. So I'm not doing this all for the money. Or if I was, then I could just kind of check out and say, what, here, sell everything off and let me just like peace out, be in Mexico and be chilling.
Yeah.
But
you want to build others up in the process.
Yeah, I want to build it up and build it up and see what we're capable of. We're building something out super cool in LA with the deal makers, brand. And we're also going to be launching a kind of paid coaching mentorship through that brand, and then I'm really excited about getting some students and helping some people to learn how to flip, learn how to buy their first rental, learn how to do creative deals, stuff like that that we've all done. But for me, it's like I've been so busy in the game that I haven't been able to teach the game to some people that want me to teach it to them.
Mm-hmm. And so when you had talked about refinement and looking at looking at your approach to things, how often would you say that you switch that up? When you're looking into what you're doing, because I know like Ryan, the reason why that question popped into my head with Ryan, every couple months he switches to a whole new marketing scheme, whole new process for closing, everything like that. So how important is it to switch up what you're doing to keep it fresh in there?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ryan kind of in the aspect of like you're always pivoting. Sometimes they're bigger pivots than others. So one of those things can be, for me, it was like, okay, now you have to be in LA more than just once a quarter for a week or two. Like you have to be there pretty much half the time at least. Okay, so that was a transition for me. I realized that like I need to do that more, and I sacrifice. Other times it's been like we were focusing heavy on our rental portfolio for some time because we had the actual properties, but we just weren't generating the amount of income that we could potentially pull from them. We went all in on that. It didn't end up working out, but we were able to kind of figure out like why. Okay, you know what? Hey, we're better off only keeping a couple key assets and then just flipping hard and partnering up and not like trying to just own a big portfolio and of like short-term rentals and like a hybrid where it's like, okay, shit, we got property in Hawaii, property in Arizona, property in SoCal, property in Mexico. It's like these are just all very different places with very different tenant avatars, right? People that are going to be renting these properties short-term, mid-term, long-term. So, we've constantly done it based on like just getting new information. So I think it's one of the things, it's like, that's why you have to be in coaching programs and be around other like communities, see what's working for other people. And then that way you could make those pivots a lot sooner or be a lot more prepared and analyzing those results through seeing other people that are making pivots as well and just leaning on those people. But we haven't been perfect at that. I think we could have done more wholesaling, when things have been difficult, raising capital with the flipping or projects being maybe a little bit delayed, being more just pivoting faster into like the direct to seller campaigns and things like that we did in the past, but we just relied on some of these other wholesalers, MLS, networking and all that, and it just hasn't worked. And so we're pivoting and going direct to seller on pretty much all our stuff now because we've seen like we've gotten doo-doo over the last 6 months, other than like my relationships that I'm going to get those deals anyway.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, let's keep my relationship deals coming because they're going to come either way. And then now let's go direct to seller because this other stuff isn't working.
Yeah. So you've used, you've been fairly active on social media. You have, how many followers do you have? Like across
18,000. Oh,
across
across all
all
of our platforms, somewhere around 25.
25. Okay. So you've used social media quite a bit, and it's helped you quite a bit in your business as far as just getting your name out there. It's helped quite a bit with raising these events and everything. Across different platforms, having over 25,000 followers. How have you seen your business change using social media?
It's been an evolution for sure. At the beginning, it was just kind of documenting the journey. I'm kind of a showman, so I like showing some stuff off, and I'm passionate about what I'm working on, and I'm putting in a lot of work. So it's really just kind of stemmed from that. Like, hey, this is something that I notice is kind of a trend a little bit. People are using social media and all that. And then so once I got my first deal from it, I was hooked because I was like, okay, cool, this works. I got this deal. We made a ton of money on it. I mean, this is duplicatable, right? I just post that I'm doing this kind of thing or this work or this business, and then eventually people reach out to me about having interest in one way or another. So first, just came back to getting deals. It was okay. This is just another way to get deals, and then after that, it was like, okay, well, this is helping us get contractors and get other people that are interested in working for us, kind of in that aspect, and some team members. Oh, cool! Like some of my first couple interns that turned team members, I got them from social media, which is great because they were following me for like 8 months, and then they hit me up and they're like, hey, I want to come be your sales guy. Okay, cool. Well, this person has already been watching me for 8 months. They know what I'm about. They're more likely to work out because they're wanting to come work for me. So that's powerful. And then also the obvious, which is we always need capital for deals. So I've found some of my best partners through social media, people that have helped fund some of our deals and been private lenders. So for sure, that's been very, very valuable for that aspect as well. And so, but it is work on top of work, is what I describe it as, because you have to be able to do the work itself to get deals and be in the business and have success, which is already difficult on its own. And then add on top of that, how do I document this in a cool, fun, interesting, engaging way, and then be consistent about it.
Right. I think that's the key part is being consistent. A lot of people think, okay, if I post once every couple months, I'm going to get, a million followers. When we all know it's not how it works.
Nope.
Obviously, getting 25,000 followers, that's no small feat. What have you? Is there any system that you have followed or strategy that you've used to get there?
I look at my main Instagram that I have close to 20,000 followers, and I have over 1,000 posts. So in the last 4 years, so it was at 250 posts a year. That equates to almost one a day.
Yeah, so just that
So
consistency.
it's the number one thing I would say is consistency. It does not even having any, because I look at some of my old videos and they're good videos and they got like 87 views. You know what I mean, or 87 likes or whatever that might be. And so it really just the consistency factor. Someone might have some better editing and whatnot than me on something, but then I'm probably going to be more consistent than them.
Right.
So I do have a system now, though. It's like, okay, we film a couple hours a week, a couple days a week, and then we have an editor that we almost not in house, but they're a contracted editor. They're getting paid, about $1,000 a month to do a lot of editing, 40, 50 videos or whatever, and then we have a social media / marketing VA that kind of helps out. And she's like, about $1,000 a month. So the whole system for filming, the videographer regularly, and all the other stuff is about $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
So there is a commitment to it as well. But that's something a little bit more advanced already.
Yeah.
After having a whole system in place, but it's not like I'm spending like 20 hours a week on it either.
Yeah. But I'm sure just from the connections you made through social media, it's already paid for itself, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's $36,000 a year, but I mean, I'm growing at a pace where it's like, okay, I'm getting, say, 500 new followers a month. It's okay. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but shoot, like in a year, that's 5,000 new eyeballs, or 6,000 new eyeballs that are, been following me, looking at what I'm doing, and could either become a wholesaler that sends me deals, or any of the above of the other things I told you I get from social media. So for 36,000 a year, like I only need like one deal, and I'm doing more than that through social media. So
yeah, it's good. It's good. So what would you say is the purpose behind what you're doing? Because obviously, I know you want to have financial freedom. You want to be able to live the life that you want to live. But you've also talked about wanting to be a mentor, wanting to be a coach. Where does that stem from?
Just wanted to pay it forward. Being able to, when you're able to create like abundance in your own life and have things that you never expected, I think it usually comes with a bit of like a duty or responsibility to help
Yeah.
other people do something similar. Because to get to that next level, you usually have to contribute to other people's success. It's not like you just hey, you go and you flip a bunch of houses and now you're on top of the world. It's like, okay, no, yeah, you're making some money. You know how to make now you know how to make $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe you should go help somebody go make $100,000 a year now that's never made even 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like that principle of just being able to kind of give back and contribute once you have more abundance in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That there's people that you can help out. And so if you're not doing some form of that, I mean, some people do that through their through their church. Some people do that through volunteer work. Some people do that through other methods. But I think for me, it's like just being able to coach people up or do some type of mentoring that helps me put other people on, because this business is incredible. It's super lucrative. It can help you live the life of your dreams, but it does require, just like any business, to have success in, you need to be dedicated for sure.
So, and I'm kind of jumping around a bit. One thing I forgot to touch on. What do you think the turning point was for social media, as far as when you really started to see those followers come in? Was there, was it after you posted 500 videos, or was it after certain running?
No, I don't even think of it like that. I really the big turning point for me was just once I made close to 100,000 with my partner on that deal through social media, because at that point it was like, well, I'm not quitting this anymore, and and I think at that point I maybe had 3,500 followers. It wasn't even that much.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another couple turning points in there. Once I made it onto the Bigger Pockets podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. That I remember getting like instantly like 5,000 followers right after that podcast was launched, and then also I got a bunch when I was on Ryan Pineda's, the original.
Yeah, right, with the Ryan Pineda show.
The Ryan Pineda show, yeah. So I was able to get some, because these are very specific followers of people that are interested in what you're doing, and so. So I think there was a couple turning points. The first is the commitment after making money through it, and the second was, Bigger Pockets. A couple of those podcasts that I did that helped really grow my following to close to 10,000.
Well, cause I know with Ryan, I know you'd been a part of his program at one time, but even for Bigger Pockets, I'm sure they heard about you through social media, through your network somehow. So, even having, starting, it can lead to those big opportunities, which will, create those blow ups.
Yeah. Well, I attended one of Brandon Turner's original masterminds. Okay. So I got to know him through there, but I was following his podcast for a real long time. Mm-hmm. And then later on, when I was able to move to Hawaii, it was because I was posting on social media and then staying in touch through that kind of channel. Yeah. So it's all kind of related in one way or another. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, man, it has been great having you on here. I know it's you've been working all day, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on. I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of this. I'll be putting his information down below so that you guys can reach out to us or follow him on Instagram at
Alex Camacho TV.
Alex Camacho TV. I didn't know I was gonna butcher that, so I just figured I'd let him do it. But yeah, man, it's been great having you on here, and love to connect with you down the road for sure.
Sounds good, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
let's go.